Everyone, in just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Mike NEMETH, and we're going to be talking about this book. It is his brand new book. It came out in March, and I am so excited to talk to him. This book was so good. I love when I find like these books that are kind of like a gem. I mean, there are books out there that have already been all over the place and everybody's read them, but this book, it has like this following that you wouldn't believe. I mean, I am so happy for him because it is really, really good. And then I feel like I'm in on it. And I love that. So anyway, everybody, here is Mike. Hi, everyone. I am so excited because I am speaking with author Mike NEMETH, and we are talking about his newest book right here. Look at that cover. The Undiscovered Country. And this is the second I found out, which I didn't know because I never read anything about the book before I read it because I want to know. I want my own opinion. I don't want other people's opinion. But I found out there is a book that was written so this is kind of a sequel, but I couldn't tell. So that's how you know they're standalone books, because I couldn't tell at all. But Mike, I love this book so much. I am so happy that your publicist contacted me about this book. It has been such a joy to read, and I just want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and thank you for having me on today as well.
Well, like I said, I love when I find a book like this. I call them like a diamond in the rough, even though you do have a following. And it's like when I find people like you and I'm like, I didn't ever read any of your books. And then I read it and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. I just want to shout it to everybody how good this book is. And I will promote the heck out of this book as much as I can, because this was such a great story. I enjoyed it. I found myself, I read the book right before we do the interview, but I read it this weekend and I found myself staying up way longer than I intended because I was like, I got to finish this book. I don't want to go to bed. I want to finish this book.
Well, that's fabulous. That's absolutely fabulous. As you said, there was a book before it that had some of the same characters, as a lot of writers do. I have a lead character whose life we're actually following through these various episodes, the various books. But the books are standalone. In the first book, Randall faced a particular kind of challenge. In the second book, it's a completely different kind of challenge, a completely different story. He happens to be the same person. And in the third book, he will be there again with yet again a different set of challenges. In fact, I've had readers say, in the third book, are you finally going to give Randall a break?
You know what? I read one of your comments that it was going to be a trilogy, and that was going to be my next question, because I was like, I hope so, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to read that first book. And then when that third one comes out, which is when does this one just came out in March. So when does the third one come out?
Well, as you know, the publishing industry is not a very fast industry. And in fact, my publisher won't publish fiction, two versions of fiction or two books of fiction in the same calendar year. It has to be at least a year apart. So it will be at least May of next year.
Okay, well, you know where to find me, and then I'm going to read that one so I can read all three of them, and then we can do another interview, because I loved him so much. I wish I could explain to people, like, when we're talking about a thriller, I can only talk about so much about the thriller because I don't want to give anything away. And so much happened that it's like every chapter was opening up to something else. That's why I said I couldn't stop reading it, because poor Randall, he was finding out so much stuff. But it flowed. I mean, it was, the storytelling that you do is so amazing. So amazing.
Thank you for that again. My technique is sort of to think of myself as writing a season of a Netflix binge-worthy story. So if you were watching episodes of a Netflix story and binging on them, you would want each episode to actually, again, sort of stand by itself and have enough action in it and enough meaning to the overall story to make you want to go to the next episode and the next episode. And then each novel is sort of a year of a binge-worthy series, right? In the way that I sort of think about it. So I'm a child of the Netflix generation, and that influences the way I write.
Well, you know what I found fascinating, I have to tell you, that it was it was like, it wasn't just out there. Like sometimes you read a book and you're like, oh, that can't happen. But let me tell you, my mom was in the hospital. She had died from cancer and I was their primary person. Okay. So I was there every step of the way. And I had to be so on top of everything that was going on that after she passed away, it took me a while to go to a doctor. I have to tell you, I don't know. And I'm not saying they're not good people. Okay. I'm not saying that at all, but there was something about her hospital stay and being on top of her treatment that I had no idea that that's what it was going to take from me, was somebody that was in charge. And Randall is put in charge of he puts himself in charge of his mother's treatment. And it's extreme in some cases, but other cases I was like, I get that. I really do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the woman in the book, the character in this story, has a whole slew of doctors, right? But they're all really specialists in their own field. I encountered this years ago when my wife had a heart problem. And when she went to her heart doctor, he looked at her list of prescriptions and said, I don't know what to prescribe for you because I don't know what the prescriptions are that you're already taking. I have no idea what their interactions are going to be. And it gave us the idea that she needed one doctor who actually knew everything about her and knew what all of those prescriptions and treatment protocols were. And that's sort of what happens to the character in the book. Randall's character flaw is that he believes he should always be in charge and that he can actually make things turn out better if he is. That's his character flaw. And I try to make him as lovable as possible within that flawed character, if you will. But Randall's a guy who doesn't take anything at face value. Just because you say it's true doesn't mean it's true. And he's going to find out for himself and satisfy himself and not listen to other people. And so naturally that causes problems. Sometimes it solves problems, but it really keeps the story going.
Yeah, and he finds out lots of stuff, okay? That's all I want to tell everybody. He finds out a lot of things, okay? And it's like, I loved him. I really did. And not even reading the first book, I loved him. I was like right there with him, like, I don't know. I found myself really, really connected to him. And I'm going to read. You can't, as you know, everybody that he cannot see me. Okay. Mike and I can see Mike, but Mike can't see me. So just so you know, in case there's any kind of a delay, but I'm going to read from the book. It is page 6 and 7. It's the bottom of page 6 because I like to find things that I connect with, and I highlighted a lot of stuff. I've made a lot of notes, but I found this morning I was like, okay, you got to narrow this down. You got to find the thing that you really loved. So I'm going to read at the end of page 6, and it's not that long. But anyway, he says Randall's trying to figure out what to do. He's waiting for his mom to come back into the hospital room. And he says, the chapel was an option, but God would recognize the hypocrisy. He knew I had a low regard for people who suddenly turn to him when they are desperate and a low regard for institutionalized worship. My relationship with him was consistent and continuous, but informal and private. And that, since that's in the beginning of the book, it's like, I thought that really like gave me something to hold on to with him. And so I like when you're trying to define a character and hold on and grasp him, I really loved that. So I just had to tell you that.
Well, I like that too. There is an undercurrent of religious themes through the book. It's pretty clear that Randall is exactly what you just read, a person who is religious but sort of privately religious and religious in his own way, if you will. There's another scene not very long after that where all of his mother's doctors have gathered in her room, and Randall gives them a lecture. and tells them that it's God's duty to decide whether his mother lives or passes, and it's their duty to make sure that they do their best until God overrides their will. And it really annoys the doctors.
Yeah, he has a habit of annoying a lot of people, but I don't know. That's kind of what I love about him. You know, he was a great main character. I mean, how did you come up? I mean, since you had a prior book from him, like, how did you create Randall?
Yeah, a couple of ways. The knee-jerk comment is Randall's a guy I probably wish I was, uh, or could be more like in my daily life. I'm softer than Randall is. Randall has some hard edges to him to make things happen his way or go his way. But the other thing is, my technique is to think first about what point do I really want to make with a story. And in this case, there were several. One of them was about how how disconcerting it can be to be in the care of a whole slew of doctors and to have to give up control of your life and trust all of those people. And it's a very chilling sort of thing. And with your mother, and by the way, I'm very sorry to hear that, but with your mother's case, you probably felt some of that as well. You're really at other people's mercy, and so if you have had a long life that you were able to manage well, all of a sudden you're thrown into that circumstance where you have no control at all, and it's a terrible feeling for the patient. And the patient is often the last person who's consulted. The doctors consult among themselves. The doctors give their advice to family members. The family members, in this case, fight over what should be the right course to follow with their mother's illness. Randall has a brother and a sister that he doesn't always get along with. And so the patient is often the last person to be consulted. So that was sort of one theme that I wanted to bring out in the book. And then the other one, as people perhaps can see from the cover, that cover I
I'm
hope
showing it right
gives
now so
people.
everybody can see it.
So it should give people a feeling about being in the Old South. So Randall's family is a very traditional Old South family. The book is set in Augusta, Georgia, one of the last bastions of the Old South, if you will. And the family, because of its Old South origins, keeps its secrets, right? The Southern family does not air its dirty laundry in public and doesn't even share its secrets with other family members. So there are layers of mysteries here, and one layer is all about the secrets this family has kept and the secrets that the ill matriarch has kept, and frankly wants to continue keeping to her grave if at all possible.
Right. Right. And that's what that that's why this book is called a thriller, because you go from one family secret to another family secret, and it's mind-blowing. And I just, like I told you before, like, your storytelling is so good. I love when I'm just so wrapped up in it that I don't want to set it down. And that's this kind of, that's what this book was like. I just didn't want to put it down. I wanted to read the whole entire thing because I want to know what happened. So, and we can only talk about that part of it. But so I'm happy that it's a trilogy. I'm happy that, I saw that you had written, before this stuff, you had written books about football. Now, I found that really interesting because, like, I had sons that played football, and I was really involved in football for a long time. So what was it like switching from those books to these novels?
Uh, from pain to fun. uh, Nonfiction is actually hard work, for me at least. Nonfiction is very hard work. All the attributions and the permissions and making sure your facts are right and hoping nobody sues you, and all of that sort of thing. Whereas fiction is just fun. Fiction is the kind of fantasies that we played out as children when we built forts in our mother's living room or played with our friends in the backyard. fiction is a lot like that for me. It's just fun, and I get to play that out for all the readers who might encounter my books. So I love writing fiction because it's easy for me and it's fun. But the football book, and there was also a basketball book, were really more attuned to my professional career, a lot about statistics and mathematics. And in a way, what I learned about those two sports is that what we tend to watch and hear on television is largely not true from a statistical analysis perspective. We hear a lot of things that we shouldn't actually just accept as truth. So that's my little bit of being like Randall.
So because I didn't read these books, but I'm always, I watch a lot of professional sports. So did it make you not trust professional sports?
It made me watch them differently than I
Okay.
did before. Instead of listening to what the commentators were saying, I could form my own opinions actually about what was really going on. Hopefully, I was closer to what the coaches are actually thinking than the commentators. Uh, but there's also a difference. My books are actually about college sports, and college football is actually a pretty different game from professional football.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day, I'm 53, so I remember back in the day with the NCAA basketball, there was a lot of problems with it, okay? With refs and, throwing games and, there was all kinds of dirty stuff going on with that. That was back in the 90s, I think. And it kind of tainted me towards it a little bit because I was working for a law firm that we were involved in it and I got to know stuff that wasn't that fun about it. And I always wondered about professional sports. I am now into ice hockey. I have gone away from football. but I don't know. And then I'm now on ice hockey. But you always wonder like about professional sports, like how is it a statistical thing? Like, are they can you figure it out? Can you figure out who's going to win? Is it somebody's turn to win? Is there such a thing? I don't know.
Professional football is much more predictable than college football. Just as an example, college football is played by kids who have parent problems, school problems, girlfriend
Right.
problems, money problems, all kinds of emotional problems that affect how they play. So, college football teams, if you chart how well they actually play the game, so not whether they won or lost, but how well they played the game, their chart would just absolutely go up and down and up and down and up and down. Whereas professional teams are either more consistent or tend to improve or decline as the season goes on. They're much more predictable because they have mature players and sophisticated coaching, which is not actually the case in college.
Hmm. So do you still enjoy watching it?
I love watching college football, but it's all about the emotion, right? I
Hmm.
attended the University of Wisconsin, so I'm a big Badger fan. My wife's uncle was a dean at the University of Florida, so I care a little bit about the Gators. My wife herself is from Alabama and is
Hmm.
a diehard Alabama fan. So as long as there's that emotional connection, it's a lot of fun. I think it's more fun than professional football, even though you know that there are those underlying problems. I mean, we could actually go on and on about the myth of the student athlete and
Yeah.
so forth, and now we've uh, potentially entered an arena where we're going to legalize gambling, and I can't imagine. I just can't imagine the effect that that
I,
could potentially have.
I can't either, but I have to say, coming from Pennsylvania, we are diehard Penn State fans, and when we had those troubles and we weren't allowed to play football for a while, it was a rough, it was a rough couple of years for us. But my son is going to college for golf, so that I can't go to the game, I can't go to the matches, I can't, there's very little I can do about it except for get to hear about it later. So
Well, I love golf. I play golf as well. Not as well as I used to play golf as I age, but it's still fun. And golf for me is the perfect metaphor for real life. Uh,
Yes.
Everyone should play golf because it teaches you a lot about how to handle real life.
Yeah. He knows because it's like, it's all mental for him. It's a very mental game. So he's lucky because he's pretty talented at it, but it's all mental too. So, but
And where's he going to go? Just
Eastern, it's
curiosity.
it's in Philadelphia. It's a private college called Eastern University. It's small.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
small, but it's really close to me, so that I'm happy. I'm happy about that.
Wonderful.
But
Wonderful.
everybody, here is Mike's book. It was so much fun talking with you, Mike, because we could only talk so much about this book, but you are so interesting. I loved this conversation. It was really fun, and I want everybody to go get this. I'm going to promote the heck out of this book as much as I can, and I want everybody to read it. I can't wait for the next one. I'm already looking forward to it because I just loved him so much, and I'm so happy that you found this. Like, I love talking to people my age and older who've kind of found writing at this age, and it's so good. So you're an inspiration to many people. Who says retirement? Like, go write a book. Go write books.
Yeah, this is not retirement, believe me. Well, thank you for so much for having me on, Michelle. And let me say that you are really, really good at what you do. I do a lot of these, and
Aw.
yeah, this was a really good time for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. And you're very good at what you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. So we will be talking. I'm not going to say goodbye because we will be talking again. I promise you. And just keep me updated, okay? And let me know how it's going, and we'll chat again, okay?
Okay, I will.
All right. Thanks for making this happen, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Michelle.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone. If you got this far, that means you got to see the whole video, and here is the book. Isn't he fun? Oh my gosh, I could have talked to him forever. And I will be promoting this like crazy because I want to get the word out that this is an amazing book, okay? And we couldn't see each other. Well, I could see him, he couldn't see me. So it was a little awkward, and Skype was kind of in and out, but I'm just happy that the voice was good. And I think he's gonna like it. So I just want to thank Mike, and thanks for making it happen. It wasn't easy to figure out the technology for both of us, but we did it. And I will have all of Mike's links underneath here. You can find him wherever you can find him. And this book is available right now on Amazon, and that link will also be listed underneath here. So thank you, everybody.